Let us begin Be'ez Hashem. So the truth is like this. This is what we're holding, just to give everyone a bit of an idea. We spoke about the shaila of Amazon. We spoke about the shaila of auctions on eBay, websites, and the such. However, we started the sugya, we pretty much finished the sugya of Schar Shabbos, which is the sugya of profiting and making money on Shabbos. I want to move on to Amazon practical shailas on internet, sites and websites that people make on Shabbos. But before we do that, we need to spend one share on another halacha, which is basically what we spoke about slightly, but I just want to go into more detail. And that is just in general, businesses on Shabbos. Businesses on Shabbos. The opening idea of having a business open on Shabbos, that unfortunately people don't even realize is so negaya, that people schedule payments, people have send checks to banks, people have PayPal transfers. There's a lot of shailas that go on. Change of ownership is a shaila of business. I want to spend just today just to understand the sugya of having a business open on Shabbos, and then Be'ezus Hashem, the next year, we'll talk about the practical examples of Amazon, eBay, and websites in regards to both Schar Shabbos and business on Shabbos. So once we know the two sugyas of A, business on Shabbos, and B, Schar Shabbos, then we can move on to the practical applications, which is of course websites, Amazon, eBay, and so on and so forth. So let's move on. Let's start today, and again, like I said, just today discussing this one sugya like this. Any type of business transaction, any type of change of ownership, of kinyonim, is considered to be a gzeira mishum mekach umemkar. It's the gzeira of business transactions, of business activities on Shabbos Kodesh. And any type of buying, selling, renting, hiring is going to be included in the Issa and will be Asa. Will be an Issa D'Rabbanan, as we'll get to. Now there are two reasons, some of them we've mentioned, but it's kedai to mention them over here again. Why is it that it's a problem to have someone renting something, buying something, change of ownership on Shabbos Kodesh? What's the problem? We have two issues that we have to understand. And again, many of these issues come into practical examples when we discuss websites, Be'ez Hashem next time. But just to understand the two reasons why it is also to have a business open and to do business on Shabbos Kodesh. Reason number one, the Rambam in Hilchos Shabbos Perek Chof Gimel tells us like this. In Halacha Yud Beis, it's Gzeira Shema Yichtov, which means the Rambam famously learns, and he learns this in many situations on Shabbos Kodesh, but the Rambam learns that business transactions generally are associated with writing. When you do business, when you buy something, when you sell something, when you rent something, there is writing together with that. Generally, you make a shtar, a document, something. And therefore, since there's writing together with that, the Rambam, they answered all business things because of Gzeira Shema Yichtov. In that case, the Makar, of course, is a Gemara Shabbos Kuf Mem Ches Beit Salam Zayin Omar Aleph. The Magen Avraham brings it in Shin Vav Sikot and Tes Vav. Al Koponim, that is number one. Reason number two, why it's also to have businesses on Shabbos, is Mimzer Hefzecha, which is, of course, the Navi. Gemara in Shabbos Kufi Gimel Amar Aleph, Rashi and Beit Salam Zayin Amar Beis, that Akoponim means that every business transaction, every business matter is automatically also on Shabbos, and the Navi tells us that a person cannot pursue on Shabbos Kodesh that which he does during the week, even if there's no malacha involved. And this is the crucial idea to remember. We're not discussing people that are doing malachas. There's no malacha involved whatsoever. No malacha. I'm simply taking someone's Coca-Cola from their store. There's no malacha. There's an eruv. There's not a problem of muktzah. No problem of carrying. I'm good. No malachas. Abazuk the Navi means that I'm not allowed to pursue weekday business activities. That is the second reason. Now, both reasons clearly are a D'Rabbanan. That's klar. Both of them are Nisei D'Rabbanan. Not that makes it any more megal, because we always say D'Rabbanan fire is also very hot. But Al Koponim is Nisei D'Rabbanan in that case. Now there is a Kilkela Shabbos. The Kilkela Shabbos in the Melacha of Moichik brings down that this one happens to be very chomer. This one is perhaps more chomer than some of the other ones. There's a remez to this also in the Prima Godim, Mishpah Zov Simon Reish Mem Dalet Sivkot and Aleph, where he brings down, since over here we're dealing with Divrei Kabbalah, so it's a shaila of a daraisa. There's a famous Aruch HaShulchan by Muktzah, but Al-Kaponim over here, the Kokana Shabbos, the Pimigodim says, Eidach Hanami, it's a Durabanan, but it's a chomer one. It's a stringent Durabanan. It's not a regular Durabanan. That's number one. Number two, there's a Moedik Chsam Sofer. The Chsam Sofer in Parshas Yisroi tells us that it could be buying and selling business transactions and business activities. Could actually be in Issa D'Oraisa. As I state in the Heilige Chsam Sofer. Where's his raya? Where's the Chsam Sofer coming from? He brings a raya from the Pasuk. Ushmartem es hayoim hazeh. Safeguard this day. The Mechilta asks a kasha, and he says, why does the Pasuk have to say, safeguard this day, if the Pasuk right before says, Ubayom avisha mikah kodesh, kol malacha lo yasa behem. Because the Mechilta is telling us it's also to do malacha in that case. Zuk the Chsam Sofer, obviously the Pasuk is telling us something extra that the Pasuk before is not telling us. The Pasuk before is talking about doing a malacha on Shabbos, Beseder, Yontef. But over here what we're discussing, Ushmartem es hayoim hazeh, means even something that is not asa because of a malacha on Shabbos or Yontef will be asa because of business, and it could be Issa D'Oraisa. The Ramban, Vayikra Chov Gimel, also understands that this could be engaging in business activities that are not otherwise asa in the Torah, which means the Ramban holds as well. Like the Chsam Sofer could be, we're dealing with the Shaila of a D'Oraisa, and we have the Kirkat Shabbos, and we have the Pri Megadim, so we're dealing with something very, very chomer, not of it. By the way, there's a Moedik Tshuva in the Tshuvas Harosh in Klal Chov Gimel. He wants to ask the Shaila, if a person makes a kinyan on Shabbos, is Bechlal the kinyan even chal? Does it work? Was I koina something that wasn't allowed to be koina because you're not allowed to make kinyanin on Shabbos? By the way, not that we're discussing the Shaila, but this is a similar Shaila of giving a present on Shabbos. Am I allowed to give a present to somebody else on Shabbos? I'm changing ownership. It's not business, but I'm changing ownership. That's a kinyan. Kinyanim are asa because of business, because of Shtama Yichtoim. Okay, there are many Eterim that, of course, if you're giving them something that they can eat on Shabbos, they could use on Shabbos, like a bottle of wine, a box of chocolates, a vada that's mutter. But that's the idea where everything comes from. But Al Kaponim, what we have over here is that any type of business transaction, change of ownership, renting, hiring, all of these sorts of things are also for all of the reasons that we've said above. However, before we move to some of the major shilas, there are some heterim. Okay, I'll give you an example of something which is a very common shaila. I've been asked this many times. You have people that have in their homes home businesses. For example, a guy sells in his home chocolates. He sells chocolate, he makes arrangements, or he sells presentations, and he has drinks, and he has all sorts of stuff in his house. Now, I live next door, and I need some chocolates. So I got some guests that came in all of a sudden. I need some chocolates. So I want to go to my next door neighbor, say, do me a favor, can I have some of your chocolates? Obviously, for Shteitzach, I'll pay for them. I'm not asking for free, right? Here's a business, I'll pay, but it's Shabbos, right? So that would be us, right? Because that's a business. I can't go into his quote-unquote store. Obviously, I'm not talking about going into an actual store. That could be a shaila of Marisain. I'm talking about going into somebody's house. They have a store in their home. Or they have a dress, for example, for one of my kids, and the kid's dress broke, or it's ripped, and they need to get a new dress. And I know that they have a store in their house that sells dresses, so I'm going to go inside and buy a new dress, right? Is that allowed, or is that a shaila business? So there is a heta. If you look at Shulchan Aruch and Simon Shin Lamed Tes Dalet, there are many heterim for Shabbos and Yontiv when it comes over here, and the conditions are number one. Obviously, you cannot say the word buy or sell. Cannot say those words, buy or sell. I want to buy chocolates from you. That you cannot say. Number two, you're also not allowed to reference that you will get paid after Shabbos. It's understood b'fnei atzma enough to say such a thing, but you're not allowed to say, I'll pay you after Shabbos. Even if you don't say, I'll buy it. Just, I'll pay you after Shabbos. That also you can't say. And the third thing also you can't say is you cannot refer to either the price or the weight of the item. But you can't weigh it and say, okay, it's 100 grams, or 1 kilo, whatever it may be, or okay, that's $100. Don't mention a word about price or anything like that in that case. The Ramah says only these things you could do by a yid, by a goy. You cannot do any of these things. So I'll go on now, definitely a terim in such a situation, but we're not discussing that. We want to go to now real business shaila, okay? We'll just one or two business shilas, and then in Mitzvah Shem next year we'll talk about the practicalities of having a website and ordering things on Amazon. Although it comes to many, many different shilas, like shilas of Amira Lenochri, it comes to shilas of Echutz Latchum, all sorts of different shilas as well, that maybe we'll get to at a different time. But I'll go on a couple of shilas. Very common business shila is like this. Can I schedule a payment to happen on Shabbos. And this is a very common shaila that businesses have, that they have either PayPal accounts or they have various things and they schedule payments to be done on Shabbos. Am I allowed to schedule an automatic payment to be falling out either Shabbos, and of course obviously on Yom Tov it's the same thing in that case. What is the halacha when the money transfer happens on Shabbos or Yom Tov, which be'etzem again is a change of ownership. A change of ownership is going to be problematic. So according to some poskim, for example, there's a Mordechai Tshuva in Kiva Eiga in the Ksovim, in Sima Kufnun Tes, where he wants to say that it's of course included in the Issa Mekach HaMemka, and a person is not allowed to schedule, even on Erev Shabbos, anything b'chal to change ownership on Shabbos Kodesh. However, we'll tell you that most poskim, and in fact this is the Psak L'Maisa, if you're Medayik in Shulchan Aruch and Siman Reish and Beis Sivhei, that be'etzem it's mutter. Why is it mutter? Because there's a machlokas in the Gemara, B'Shama B'Siluk, famous Gemara in Shabbos Taf Yud Ches Amud Aleph. And that machlokas is, am I allowed to have my kelim, quote unquote, my utensils working for me on Shabbos Kodesh? Right now we all know that I can set the air conditioning or the heating or something similar on Erev Shabbos and let the air conditioning and the heating go on Shabbos Kodesh. The air conditioning goes on, that's my keli, it's my utensil, it's working for me on Shabbos. No, I said it before Shabbos, Shabbos look it up, and we paskin that it's mutter. Which means, according to that, if I set up on my computer system, on my bank, whatever it is, my transfer or my website, a change of ownership with money, that a money will arrive to the bank on Shabbos Kodesh or arrive to whoever it is that I'm paying on Shabbos Kodesh, if I set that up before Shabbos, that's no difference basically to allowing my tools, my machines working for me if I set them up before Shabbos. Of course, when you do that in Eber Fahesia, the shilas of Maris Ayin, I'm not talking about now with sprinklers going on, all different shilas that come up outside the house where people can see Maris Ayin sugars, that I'm not going into. But I'm talking about simply a change of ownership that happens, that I schedule before Shabbos, and it happens on Shabbos, that would be mutter. There is no problem whatsoever. There is a tshuva in the Maramshik where he brings down the Orach Chaim Siman Reish Hey. He brings the shaila about what happens if Erev Pesach falls on Shabbos. Then you've got a problem of kinyonim. How does it work? Only when you do a kinyon Erev Shabbos on something that's going to happen on Shabbos, that might be problematic. But upon him to allow a payment to happen on Shabbos, to fall out on Shabbos, that would not be a problem. And the last shaila for today would be, for example, sending a check with a delivery company, right? FedEx or one of these companies that do overnight delivery. What's the halacha? And again, this applies both to Shabbos and Yom Tov, and it's going to be deposited into the account on Shabbos or Yom Tov. Am I allowed to mail a check with a company that are going to take it there, and they're going to give it to the bank, and the bank is going to go and put in that check? So the halacha basically is, in short, that unless I told the company that I want it to be delivered on Shabbos, or it's a vade guarantee that I paid extra to guarantee overnight delivery, and it's for sure going to come on Shabbos morning, then the halacha is, I don't care that it arrives there on Shabbos, and I don't even care that the bank deposits it on Shabbos, because that's basically a din of kablonis. Kablonis is not such a problem of Miula Akim, which maybe we'll talk about a different time, but Akaponim, that also falls into the shayla that we're going to get to at a different stage, and that is ordering things online that are going to come to your house. If I order Amazon next day delivery, and it comes to my house on Shabbos morning, is that an Issa, or is that a Nusa? That we have to discuss at a different time. But Ezra Hashem, next year, now we've discussed halachos of Mekach HaMemka. Now that we know the halachos of Shabbos, now we can put it together Be'ezus Hashem and have now a sugya of what is the halacha of owning a website and selling things on eBay and now auctioning happening on Shabbos. Join us on Mitzvah next time when we discuss those halachas.